Hello there, and welcome to Dr. T for May the 30th. Stage 1, like, really cool. Basically land your troops anywhere on the map. Flare up to pretty much where I flared up, and that sniper tower can't shoot at you, so your tanks win. Simple as that. Moving on to Stage 2. Seriously. Alright, stage 2 is kind of cool. It's a lot of defenses, but they're all really nice and low. So what I would suggest is landing your troops right-hand side, taking out the boxes, because of course they're boxes, and then flaring up into the right-hand corner, roughly where I flared. Now, your tanks can take out the flamethrowers and the machine guns, and you can throw a stun on the low-level cannon and sniper towers, which shouldn't be an issue until after you've already cleared out the boxes and flamethrowers and stuff like that. And then your tanks can take out those defenses that would actually hurt them while they're being stunned, and hopefully you'll have a bunch of GBE because you won't have to use any previous to that on the attack, aside from landing the tanks, I guess, obviously. Okay, so after landing the tanks on stage 3 and flaring them over to the right hand side, you kind of have some options here. Now, I went with the good old-fashioned, let's take out the rocket launchers, because we're not going to go out to take out the rocket launchers. Each one has about 10k hit points, so they are pretty beefy, but you know, also at the same time, you don't really have to take them out. It just makes life a little easier on your tanks. And if you can only take one out, I would suggest taking the one at the back out, obviously, because then if you were so inclined, you could use your tanks to take out the remaining one. But then you gotta be careful of those sniper towers, and you blah blah blah, and all the things, and the yada yada yada, so we will skip forward to just chilling over in the back corner, letting the one low-level rocket launcher fire away. Hopefully shouldn't be too scary for the old tanks, and we can kind of sit there and chill as we cruise to an easy victory. As usual, level 3, or stage 3, so the HQ has a buttload of HP. Alright, stage 4. Again, we're going to be... There we go. Apparently the fingers, they don't work so good. So, landing right-hand side, flaring all the way over to, like, the right edge, and then throwing down some GBE on these boom cannons. They have around 8,500 hit points total, I believe. Obviously, if you can only take out one, take the one out that's closest to the headquarters. By all means, they, like that... There is a slight possibility that the furthest boom cannon from the HQ, you could actually completely flank if you went up to the very top and just followed that top line across. But it's freaking close, man. Like, if your tanks start drifting even just a little bit, they're gonna be in range. So if you're really tight and you really have to economize this level, by all means you can give that a go, and hopefully it'll work out nicely for you. Excuse me. So once you take out the defenses, this is basically the line, like the very top line that I was talking about, where you could avoid the boom cannon. Make sure your tanks are up there at the end anyways, because then they'll have range on the HQ, and they'll be able to basically just chill with that mortar shooting at them. Like, honestly, the mortar's not going to do a whole bunch, and that's the only defense that even has range. So with that, we will take down 4, we will take our loot, and we will move on to stage 5. Stage 5 is... it's interesting. So I started off with the Barrage on the shock launcher. It has around 13,000 hit points. I let the overflow hurt the boom cannon that I think has around like 8,000 hit points or something, and then I used the artillery to kind of like finish it off, if you would. Now, I made the mistake back here of thinking, oh yeah, I can totally do the same thing, no problem, oh yeah, it's cool. No, you can't. That shock launcher, it has a ridiculous amount of hit points. I was not paying close enough attention, and I was like, oh shit, it's still at half after I did the same thing. And then I threw another artillery and was like, oh shit, it's still standing, crap. Alright, let's throw a friggin' another barrage. Let's make sure this thing disappears. And that barely just takes it out. So, by all means, if you need to, let that shock launcher stand. It's gonna slow down your final attack, I guess, on the base. But if you bridge your GBE between the boom cannon and the sniper tower right there, that sniper tower is kind of like the last thing that has range on your troops. Well, I guess the mortar, but your tanks can take out the mortar nice and easy. So like you can take out this sniper tower, and then as long as your tanks are sitting here, yes, they're going to be in range of the shock launcher. No, they're not going to die to it. You know what I mean? Like your medics should be able to just chill behind your tanks, healing away, countering the actual shock launcher damage and obviously the rocket launcher damage, because there's rocket launcher damage. But as you can see, like I finished this attack with 2 minutes almost. We'll say like a minute and a half. Or at least I hope it's going to be a minute and a half. We'll see in a couple of seconds. The point is, if you're slowed down by that rocket launcher, like, your tanks will kind of get in that habit of just, like, you know, the burst shot, and then they'll get stunned. And then they'll burst shot, and then they'll get stunned. Which is okay. It will slow them down. Like a minute and a half exactly. Look at that. Sorry. Hopefully that works for you. Also, like, if you've got shock bombs, you can throw shocks and all that good stuff. Let's move on to stage 6, because obviously I'm already doing my smoky tanks landing. And I flared basically all the way over to the left and then landed everything. Now, I smoked to basically get away from the 2 massive boom cannons that are sitting right there on the freaking beach. And then I used my GBE to take out the 1 remaining boom cannon that was a pain in my Bartox. And then flare a little more to the left because I really don't want my tanks drifting towards that stupid thing. And then finally take out the stupid boom cannon. And then by the time you're done, the words, they're funny in my mouth this morning. By the time you're done taking down that boom cannon, the 2 sniper towers that are touching it are going to be wicked, wicked hurt. Which is very good for us, because that means that, you know, the tanks can very quickly cut through them and remove them as a damage source that they need to worry about. So once we move up, I threw some GBE on the sniper towers that are, I guess, to the southeast of the HQ, and the reason I did that is because those sniper towers would actually have range on your poor tanks when they're sitting up here just kind of pew-pewing away, whereas obviously if, you know, you don't want your tanks to slowly be picked off, whatever. If you don't have the GBE, you can flare over to them, kill them, do whatever you want, and then flare back to where it's safe. Fortunately, this is a pretty mellow stage, which is good because next up is stage 7, and I don't know if I took a bad path or if I was just drunk on friggin' stage 6's victory, but shit gets ugly here, okay? So, like 20, I think it's like 27, 28,000 hit points on this boom cannon, so a couple barrages and artillery. I share the artillery with the mortar because the mortar's going to actually have range, and then pretty much I'm doing the same thing, this time to avoid the crap out of all of the sniper towers and cannons that have range on that base. Sorry, on that landing beach landing strip garb. So I ended the smokes a little early so that I could, you know, hopefully keep the medics alive, and it went kind of okay-ish, but not as good as one would have liked. And then crawling right up the left-hand side, tossing some critters because those boom mines would undoubtedly do horrible things. And then comes the scary, nasty part. Nasty. So I have no energy for stuns, so obviously the cannons and sniper towers and boom cannons and all the bad things just start shredding my tanks. So I did what I could, I shocked as many as I could, and then by the time it wore off, I did not has another shock. I know, I has no cheeseburgers either. So when I finally do get the energy, I toss what I can and basically cross my fingers and pray. Which unfortunately, it's not over yet, it continues being ugly. So we finally take down the boom cannon, flare everything up so that there's not, you know, stupid tanks going down and taking on cannons one-on-one. That would just be foolish, the drunken bastards. Or bastardettes? Bitches? Bitches be bitches. Alright, so anyways, flaring up to get out of range of the shock launcher. This is pretty much the safest point you're going to get. Unfortunately, there's a sniper tower there that's just kind of sniping away, picking off your tanks very slowly, and the rocket launcher does just enough damage to kind of screw the medics over where they're like, we don't know what to heal, oh my god, there's so much going on. So kudos for placing yourself in the same position as me, which is the worst possible position. Womp womp. So, the good news is, you're gonna get a win if you're up here and your tanks are finishing off the HQ. The bad news is you're gonna have to refresh a buttload of tanks. Hopefully you guys can maybe find a better route, but this was kind of the best looking one that I saw. Anyway, hopefully this has helped you guys out. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully your runs go a little bit more successful. Maybe boost the GBE. It'd make life a lot easier. Anyways, thank you as always for watching and have a great